For example, there was such an order in this diary. I decree that God exempts me from raping women. One order stated that he could rape women between the ages of 12 and 50. In this table, he described all the rapes just like in some office. Hello, welcome to another episode of Criminal Patrol. Today, a story from Wrocław. The year is 2010, June. That year in Wrocław, that summer, was exceptionally beautiful. There was plenty of sunshine, so it's no wonder that a lot of people simply took advantage of it. Walks, cycling, just like on those beautiful days. However, on the 4th, on June 19th and 23rd, there were 2 rapes and 1 attempted rape in Wrocław. Even if someone has no experience, even if someone isn't a police officer or a prosecutor, they immediately realize it's the same perpetrator. Although the assaulted women give different descriptions, or basically there is no clear description, but by the way he operates, you can see it's the same attacker. The police know that a serial killer has appeared in the city, and it's always the case that these people never stop until something happens. Either they get caught or their actions escalate even more because they might kill someone. That's why they knew they had to do everything they could to catch this criminal as soon as possible. These rapes are increasing. Sometimes even 2 in one day. The city police chief in Wrocław decides to form a special group. It consists of experienced police officers. They verify every case. Forensic technicians who go to the scene have a clear task. They must find as much evidence as possible. Usually in the case of rape, there is a lot of evidence. Obviously, the victim, the assaulted woman, fights back. The perpetrator may leave biological traces, shoe prints, or even a hair. A lot of these kinds of traces can help identify him later. That's the job of the technicians. So they examine not only the scene of the attack, but sometimes places that are very far from where the woman was attacked. These are various types of viaducts, garbage shelters, bus stops, all kinds of places where this happens. And in fact, there are more and more rapes. And you can see that this thug, this rapist, is becoming more and more active. He doesn't stop. Despite the fact that the police officers analyze every lead, every trace, and what's more, they gather all kinds of information. Even after many years, the rapist is still at large. It seems that he carefully plans every attack, every rape. He always operates in more or less the same way. He looks out for women who are alone, for example, jogging somewhere, walking through a remote place, walking through a meadow, sometimes relaxing, sometimes trying to sunbathe somewhere. Often these are also women who are, for example, waiting at a bus stop. He is ruthless. He is cunning in what he does because he can approach a woman, pull out a knife, hold it to her throat, and then insult her. Words like, I would say, belong to the mildest ones. At first glance, someone observing this thug and the woman who was attacked doesn't see anything wrong. Because he moves very close, the knife is held to her throat. He terrorizes the woman this way and walks with her even several hundred meters, waiting until the place is deserted and people can't see anything anymore. Then when he is alone with the woman, he either hits her, punches her, or dominates her by shouting, forcing her to the ground. He has a shoelace, some kind of strap, a leash. He ties the woman's hands behind her back with it, then puts on a condom. He obviously undresses and rapes the woman. He is masked the whole time. He has a hood and a scarf. You can hardly see anything except his eyes. That's why the women who were attacked actually see very little. They don't see his face. And that's why the composite sketches are different. There isn't a single precise composite sketch. That's why the police officers couldn't even make an identikit. After assaulting the woman, he doesn't run away at all, as if he's not afraid of being caught. He sits next to the woman, goes through her purse, dumps out the contents, and finds her documents. He also starts writing down the woman's information, her personal details, and notes them somewhere in his own notebook. He also starts talking to the woman. He tells her a lot about himself, who he is. Then it turns out that these are all lies. Presumably he was saying that because to mislead the police, but he also extracts various kinds of information from the woman. For example, he asks her if she's married, if she has children, where she works, and similar kinds of information. Finally, when he's about to leave, he says that he knows where she lives and that she has children. So she shouldn't try to inform the police about it because he'll hurt her. It will be of some are already experiencing it and will likely continue for life. When the rapist leaves, he tells the woman to count to 100, and only then will she be allowed to get up. Because there is no description, in fact, the women give different descriptions. Well, it's clear that it's the same person, but practically no one knows who he is. The women no longer know, they don't see that at the moment when the criminal leaves. He has a backpack. In that backpack he has clothes, the clothes he was wearing during the assault, he burned somewhere nearby. He also has latex gloves, which he also burns. Of course, the women don't know about this. It also appears during the police inspection that the criminal doesn't use any means of transportation. He doesn't have a car, he doesn't have a bicycle, he doesn't have a scooter. It's as if he simply shows up on foot, even in very distant parts of Wrocław. And that was his only means, I would say, of getting around. Technicians are trying to secure all types of evidence. They're checking the straps she uses for tying. Of course, they're also checking other possibilities. Sometimes it also happens that when there are no straps, when there are no leashes, she tears up underwear from the victims and, for example, ties their hands with pieces of that underwear. But here too there are no traces. Even though the technicians and police officers want to secure any traces, those traces simply aren't there. And the perpetrator is aware of how to avoid leaving any traces. We know that after the assault, he goes back to his own home. He lives in an old tenement building near the train station in Wrocław. But it's also a strange house. In this house, he doesn't even have his own bed. He sleeps on a mattress that's tucked under the bench. In the house, there are plenty of paintings. These are paintings of saints, crosses, some small altars made for praying. This thug lives with his parents. His parents support him. He himself is an unemployed locksmith. There are a lot of people in the house. The police officers try to cover the places where rapes most often occur, but covering the whole of Wrocław and the surrounding areas, because he appears there too, is technically almost impossible. But they organize stakeouts and surveillance, mainly around Jagodno Partinis, Leśnika. They're in Biskupin, they're also in Wojcice, they're on Asfaltowa Street. They go up to a block of flats. They have binoculars. They also have a night vision device, and they observe the whole area. Most often the thug appears early in the morning. That's his favorite time. At this time, officers from the criminal division also learn about other rapes, about rapes that were never reported. They reach these women, and these women, as soon as the officers start talking to them, are so overwhelmed by the experience that they collapse to the ground and faint. Only when the officers start talking about it, there are still other beliefs. They were so terrified that they thought these were thugs sent by the rapist to hurt them and their children. Many of these women don't want to talk. They don't want to go back to that. That's why the police officers also experience a certain kind of frustration. They know that he's a thug, a dangerous man, even a beast, roaming around Wrocław, who, well, he kind of laughs at them because this has been going on for a few months now and they're still powerless. They don't have any clear lead. A small lead, so to speak, appeared at the moment when a certain woman was attacked not far from there. There, on her sock, the perpetrator left a biological trace. They checked the database, but they couldn't match that trace to any other because that trace wasn't in the police database. But it was already a kind of lead and a kind of clue. The police officers also came to the conclusion that since the bandit, if he can cover his tracks like that or not leave any traces, it must be someone experienced, someone with a past, someone who has been convicted at least several times and has that kind of prison experience. They started gathering materials from many, many years ago, even from 15 years back. And here, one of the people they focused on was Andrzej, a man who 15 years earlier had also been recorded and convicted for rape. The atmosphere in Wrocław at that time, that is June, July, August 2010, was almost unbearable. The tension is enormous. Women are afraid to leave the house alone. If they go somewhere, they are picked up by men, partners who take care of their safety this way. The police officers, despite the huge amount of work, are frustrated. This work so far is not bringing any results, and the criminal is still at large. What's more, as is usually the case in situations like this, a rumor starts to spread. This rumor says that not only is there a dangerous rapist on the loose in Wrocław, but also a killer who has murdered several women. It was said that he recently attacked another woman in Leśnica and raped her. The woman is fighting for her life in the hospital. Of course, the police are trying to deny all these rumors, but it actually has the opposite effect. People don't believe it. They claim that the police are hiding the facts and that in reality the city is actually very dangerous. Andrzej is a 34-year-old. This is Andrzej, who was also identified by the police. He raped someone 15 years earlier and later had various other convictions. He was released from prison in November 2009, and practically the moment he got out, he already started attacking. women. Andrzej on the surface looks, as someone once described him, like a bit of a wimp. He's actually 1.80 meters tall, but he often smiles. He has scars on his face, like acne from chickenpox. He looks like a phlegmatic person, as I said, often smiling. And someone might say that he makes a good impression, but appearances are deceiving because Andrzej is a cruel beast. A man who attacks women, for whom attacking women and raping them has become an obsession. And it became something that in his life was the only thing that mattered, the only thing that was important to him. He didn't do anything else. He didn't think about anything else except how to plan it. Another rape, another. September 5th, 2010, Wrocław. Kleciny Kościelna Street. Andrzej is lurking there again. A lady goes out early in the morning to walk her dog. Andrzej runs up to her and puts a knife to her throat. As usual, he insults her, but he also asks her how old she is. The lady is 55 years old, so she answers that she is that old. Andrzej resigns. The lady, even though she wasn't attacked or raped in any way, decides to notify the police. A police car arrives quickly. The lady gets into the police car, drives a few hundred meters with the officers, and sees someone running away in the distance. A guy in a cap, masked, just like the one who attacked her. The police officers chase after him. After a moment, they catch up to him and detain him. There was no doubt that he was the rapist. Andrzej had his backpack, after all. In that backpack, he had pornographic magazines, condoms, and a map of Wrocław. He also had clothes, well, the clothes were to change into after the assault. Why didn't Andrzej rape the woman he attacked on Kościelna Street that day? We'll discuss that soon. After the police caught him in Kleciny, they went to his home, to that apartment full of holy pictures. And there they found a diary. It was a diary that became the key piece of evidence in this case. This man had an obsession. Looking at it in a normal human way, he was downright sick. He wrote everything down in this diary. Everything that was related to the rapes. What's more, in his diary, he described rapes that hadn't happened yet. He was imagining, fantasizing how he would do it. He was reveling in what he would do in the future. But he also issued a kind of orders. He became a kind of God to himself. A man who created his own law and issued orders. And that's exactly how it sounded. In this diary, for example, there was such an order. I decree that God absolves me from the rape of women. Another order. I decree that I rape women only from the age of 12 up to 50 years old. That's why the lady who was attacked on Kościelna Street was 55 years old. She wasn't raped by him. He stuck to his own rules. However, the next rule was, I would say, a rule that stated he would also kill someone. Because he wrote, I order that God releases. He considered that since he absolved me from the sin of rape and murder, during the next rape he might also kill. It also seems that his capture and arrest meant that the police officers and the lady who reported him at that time simply saved someone's life. But besides these orders of his, a kind of personal decalogue. There was also a table. In this table, he described all the rapes. Just like in some office, there was a serial number like 1, 2, 3. There were exactly 96 of these rapes, so almost 100. He described 96 rapes. After the serial number, there was, for example, the woman's name whom he attacked, her age, hair color, whether she had children, and at the end there was a note about whether it was enjoyable or disappointing. As I told you, the table listed 96 rapes, and this entire diary, this whole description, became the key evidence in the investigation against him. During the police interrogation, he told the officers that he once had a girlfriend, but there was no aggression in their relationship. And during sex, he wanted to feel like a hunter, like a predator. Because of this, he decided to attack and rape women. As you can see, he was completely enslaved, obsessive, we would say, in the normal sense of the word. A sick man. The police officers started talking to him. From the beginning, he didn't want to say anything, even here when asked why in his diary he has all kinds of little figures next to the rapes. Some are standing, others are lying down, a bit like Egyptian hieroglyphs. He said that he was recording or remembering, drawing the positions in which he raped. So a total obsession, I would say. The police officers started, I would say, kind of trying to provoke him a bit. They began telling him, you'll be the most famous rapist in Poland, that you'll be better than Maćwiecki and things like that. And he really boasted about it. He started talking about what he had done. He began describing each rape. He started going to crime scene reenactments. In total, he took part in about 70 crime scene reenactments where he showed how he committed the rapes and how it happened. Some of them were not known at all or reported to the police. He even said that he raped a woman in 20 degrees below zero and that after the rape, he left her there. It's a miracle that this woman survived. So he told all of this in detail, and you could see that he was savoring it, that talking about it simply gave him pleasure. He was also at every reenactment with Anya, showing on Anya how he did it, and Anya was a mannequin, a doll that accompanied him during all those reenactments and police inspections. In the end, he talked about everything he did. He also assumed that he could gain a kind of fame, and after all, he wouldn't get more than 15 years because Polish law doesn't allow for more, whether he raped a woman or not. 5 women or 10 or 1,000, he would always get a maximum of 15 years. Why did the police have such huge problems identifying him, finding any kind of evidence? Well, Andrzej planned everything very carefully. There were times when each assault, there were assaults that he prepared for even up to 3 months. That for 3 months, he would go to a certain place that he would watch how to get there, where people are, where the bus stops are, where the surveillance cameras are, and a lot of other things. For 3 months, he walked around to plan the rape. He prepared thoroughly for each rape. As you remember, he always had a change of clothes. He always had latex gloves and a change of clothes, and he would burn the clothes and gloves. He always put on a condom as well. What's more, he shaved his body very thoroughly so as not to leave a single hair. He didn't take a cell phone, he didn't have a car, he didn't have a bike. He always went on foot. Sometimes he would get up at 3 in the morning. After 3 in the morning, he would go out to rape a woman. And he would walk even many kilometers, and he would return the same way, always on foot, avoiding cameras. At the moment when he attacked a woman, he would also destroy her cell phone. He destroyed the card he had experienced. He spent many years in prison. He gained that experience there. He knew how to avoid leaving traces. And he knew how to avoid getting caught. His whole life, as I told you before, was devoted to planning more rapes. Andrzej hid his tracks in multiple ways. That's because every time he destroyed his shoes, he also burned his shoes. He threw away the knives he used to threaten women. He bought new knives every time. So you see, he practically perfected every detail. In total, Andrzej committed his first rape when he was 20 years old. He was arrested when he was 34. Not counting the time he spent in prison, that's still a lot of time to commit this kind of crime. How many women he actually raped, we don't know. Some say that about 70 or 80% of women who are raped don't report it. We can see from this that Andrzej could have raped many, many more women than he described in his diary. In fact, Andrzej got 15 years. Even then, the experts said that Andrzej will not change unless he undergoes effective treatment in prison. I'm wondering, and probably many others are too, whether such effective treatment is even possible in prison. Andrzej will be released from prison soon. He will be released in 2025 after serving 15 years. What will happen next? Well, in my opinion, that's a big question mark. He's a man obsessively focused on rape. He's downright terrifying in his orders. Remember, one of his orders stated that he could rape women between the ages of 12 and 50. Yeah, as if a 12-year-old girl was a woman. In reality, the youngest girl he raped was 15 years old. Do you remember his next decree that God absolves him from rape and murder? Well, these are all signs that Andrzej, even if he gets out, will still be a very dangerous man. And that's all for today's episode. Of course, subscribe to our channel, click the bell, and of course, take care. Thank you.